Hi, I'm Susan Saylor, and today I'm interviewing Peggy Williams, who is a Philadelphia associate helper. And thanks, Peggy, for being willing to do this interview.
It's my pleasure.
Let's get started by you explaining how you learned about pathwork, how you got involved in it.
I have a mutual friend, excuse me, of many, many years that met Renee. And the three of us became friends. And what attract Renee is a senior helper here in Philadelphia. And I was just intrigued by her presentation, her knowledge of self, her ability to be open, and the concepts of path work were right along with what was stirring in my head regarding values and how the world works and what I could do to improve and to learn more about myself and why I'm here.
And now, how long have you been involved with pathwork? Like, I'm relatively recent. I've been involved for 4 years.
It's been a long time, but it's been off and on. So I did the path work. I started path work transformation and would have been roughly, I would say roughly 1991, maybe 95, something like that. But again, it's been off and on. Oh no, it goes back even further now that I think about it because I stopped to go to graduate school, and that was in 1982.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, there is that part of our lives.
I'm sorry.
There is that part of our lives. Um, you've talked a little bit about this already, but would you go over a little bit more? What drew you to pathwork? What made you want to engage?
I was brought up in a relatively fundamentalist Baptist background. And in all honesty, some of the tenets that I learned, some of it just didn't fit with what I thought was. I didn't necessarily know what was missing, but I knew something was missing. It just didn't tie together. And path work, with the level of psychology or psychological information and insights, started to just fit. It just fit. It helped me to be much more aware, self-aware, and it gave some answers that I just didn't have. And I knew I didn't have them, but I didn't know what they were. So, and it continues to do that. That's for me the beauty of the path work is that it is ongoing. And I can read a lecture once or four times and I still get something from it each and every time.
I know what you mean. I do that too. So, pathwork changes people's lives. How would you say it's changed how you live your life?
That's that's a long answer, and I'll try to make it short. It helped me to see myself and the world from a different perspective. Um, we all have our values that our family values and our societal values. And I found that while on some level both fit for me, were a good fit for me, for other levels they just didn't. And there's so much conflict and disagreement, especially among religions. And it just didn't make sense to me that that would be true. And so, a major step for me, and I don't remember which lecture it is, but it's a lecture that talks about what's true is yes and, giving up 100 thinking all this or all that, and it helped me to be much more inclusive. And that fits with my personality. I'm an inclusive kind of gal, and I like that. I like being open and receiving and giving. And so Pathwork has been incredibly wonderful with helping me to be that part of who I am, especially in the face of the turmoil that we're going through now, for example, with wars all over the world, and being able to keep an open mind and not resort to shaming and blaming and fixed opinions.
Well, that's a remarkable position to be able to hold.
It gets hard sometimes.
You bet it does. But you're holding. So that leads to another question. Pathwork is not easy. What for you is challenging?
The major challenge that I want to say tackle, but I work at being open to, is my frankly acceptance of self and being able to look honestly, truthfully at what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and allowing myself to be myself. The beauties of pathwork, one of the beauties for me, pathwork is differentiating between what's honest and what's true, because they're not the same thing. True is, from my perspective, true is full of opinions and individuality, and that's that. Or I'm sorry, honesty is full of traditions and individuality, but the truth is the truth. And so the example that I use often is it's a rug. I'm pointing to my floor. It's not a pretty rug or an ugly rug. It's a rug. And if I pick it up and wrap it around my shoulders and go out in the cold, it's still a rug. And that's the truth. And so that paradigm just really helps me to stay in what's true. And when I can stay in what's true, then a lot of the my fears, anxieties, um, beliefs just kind of fall by the wayside. And I get to see it's a rug.
I think that's a helpful analogy because truth can be intimidating, it can be uncomfortable. But once I see the truth, I feel settled.
I agree. And it frees up my ability to be present because I'm not on guard anymore. It's a rub. I'm glad you like it, but it's a rub.
Yeah. So, what would you say that one of the most significant changes you made is the ability to not be on guard all the time?
Absolutely. Well stated. Being an African American woman, and being in this country in this lifetime, there's a lot that goes along with my thinking, and I imagine for many others, about who we are and what we are and our place here. And there's epigenetics that talks about the passing down of trauma through our genes, and that's another piece that really that the pathwork has given me to really take a look at that and look at the behaviors, the belief systems, and look at the core of who I am. And I chose to be a pathwork helper because I want to help others find the core of who they are, which of course we call the real self, that part that's connected to divinity. And while I'm so aware that I have parts of myself that behaviors I choose not to act on, and sometimes I do, but I also recognize that there's a part of me that has very much wanted to be able to give back to my community. And my community is not just the African American community, it's a rug. My community is the world, the people, my interactions with others, and help people, whatever their path is, to begin to look at closer who they are and what they want to be. And Pathwork gives, but the other thing I love about Pathwork is that it gives the language to do that. So when I say to someone who's not familiar with Pathwork and I say lower self, they go, yeah. They get it. In some relationships or some people's lives, that's the devil, but they still get it, and we can build from there and begin to accept who we are and not judge.
So Peggy, you are living testimony that there is a place for Black Americans in pathwork. And I am so glad for that. We've touched on a number of things about pathwork. Considering that we're doing these interviews in order to help people learn something about pathwork who might be interested, is there anything else you'd like to talk about that would be helpful for somebody who maybe has heard of pathwork but really doesn't know what it's about?
Yeah, pathwork and the tenets of pathwork and the spirituality with pathwork. That is one of the things I really love about it. It's so open. It doesn't, one's religion just has absolutely no real problems with pathwork. Everyone's accepted. And it's not even a matter of acceptance, it's just everyone is. Because the truth is, we all have our ladders to climb in the pathwork. The beauty of pathwork is it does involve the spiritual, the psychological, and the physical. And when you bring those three together, that's when healing can actually help happen. And I think for people all over the world, there's been people have been mistreated, and there's been racism and bigotry, and that's pathwork for me has been paramount in helping me see through my own eyes closed and learn and grow. And I think that that's one of the things that has to happen for people who are descendants, and we're all over the world, of a society that has not been accepted.
Oh, yeah.
You get, and it's not an ego, I'm okay. And I'm okay is fine, but it's a, I'm okay. I need to learn this and I can do that. And geez, I think I need to look at this a little differently. All those things, path work has been instrumental in helping me to connect. The other piece, Susan, that's very important to me, path work has strengthened, girded up my spirituality. And there's a difference for me between religion and spirituality. Religion comes with lots of dogma and do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs, whereas spirituality comes with a connection with the God of my understanding. And that's another key. It's the God of my understanding.
Mhm.
And it just fits. Pathwork has given me the courage and the wherewithal and the willingness. The Pepper talks a lot about surrender. And there's a lot of surrender that has to happen, at least for me. Pathwork has given me the willingness and the ability to surrender my will to the will of the divine. And the other thing is, the divine will tell you. You know, you just know. The more I call it cook that I can remove and let go of for myself, the more I can hear the voice of goodness and kindness and the divine. And the more I recognize that divine in me, and that's not an ego, that's the fact that I am who I am is divine and trades the so many people who have been and who are descendants of the horrors of this world don't have a clue of who they are and their worth. And
And
Pat,
that's a tragedy.
that is tragedy. And it's fixable. It is fixable.
And that's encouraging.
And it's fixable across all races, ethnic backgrounds, gender stuff. It's fixable because it's about accepting self and not to the exclusion of anyone else or anything else.
Well, thank you, Peggy. That was a helpful discussion about spirituality and the connection of spirituality with religion. And I think that is very helpful. And we're approaching the close of this interview. So I want to thank you for sharing yourself and your ideas about pathwork with potential pathworkers. Thank you.
May I make another statement, just a last statement, if you will?
Absolutely. We're in no hurry.
Cool. In terms of path work and how it fits for people across the world, regardless of our differences, is that this was something my mother used to say. My mother said that she believed, and my mother was a nurse and she was from the rural South. So that's an interesting combination. And my mother had said that for her, it was the Bible and Christianity, that it gave her answers. It was as if that we were all born with incredible abilities, and in Pathwork we would call it our divinity. And and we come here and we don't have a clue how to access it. We just don't. Certain situations can improve, but we don't know how to access it. Pathwork, and it's akin to having a savings account with millions of dollars in it, and you know it's there, or you should have a sense it's there, but you can't get to it, and the rent's due, and the children need to eat. So, Pathwork for me gives me those account numbers, and I would love it if it gave it to me all at one time. But the reality is, I have to surrender, not work, but surrender to path work and to the tenets that I've learned, and to letting go of the hurts, the pains, and the situations and the beliefs. And each time I do that, I get a number. Now, between me and you, I think this number is pretty long, but and it opens me up. And that's what pathwork can and I believe will do for anyone who chooses the path. And the pathwork is not just the lectures. The pathwork is seeking truth, having a spiritual guide, being open and willing to change.
Well, I'm so glad that you added that. And what a marvelous comparison and endless bank account that we can draw on when we're open to drawing on it. Thank you so much, Peggy. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Susan, for asking me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm glad.